Hi everyone, welcome back into another video. A good question today, all about the classes at the TT, where we go forward with these, what we'd like to see, and the future of the different classes. Let's get straight into it. So first off, I suppose it's quite important to say that what I'm saying in this video is what I think, what I feel as a TT fan, as somebody who just wants to watch racing here. Obviously, I see it with two pairs of eyes as somebody who's involved in running the event as a marshal, as a travel marshal, but I also see it from a spectator's point of view as well, because ultimately I've said before, I'm just a TT fan. I'd be out there watching every session anyway, and so I can see it from both sides. So what we're talking about is the classes at the TT. So I think right now it's good. There's a good variety of machinery, and people can jump straight on this, aren't they, and just say it's all the same, it's all road bikes, they all sound the same, they all look the same. But you know, if you want all that variety, come to the Manx Grand Prix, the Classic TT. That's where you're going to see all those different machines of, two strokes and four strokes and twins and four cylinders and triples and rotaries and V4s. And anyway, that's where, that is. The TTs for modern machines, and they're run very, very in line with modern superbike rules and super sport. And obviously that's to make it relevant to people who watch short circuit stuff. The transition between the two and the recognition of the two is very easy to grasp because they're on the same kind of bikes, like BSB riders on BSB bikes. But it's also important that the riders can come here on machinery they're familiar with and not have to have and cost-wise, not have to have something special just for the TT. Now, it's always been great that special stuff's been allowed in, and when we talk about special bikes that have been here in the past, when you think about the Britain and in more modern times, the RC213V that Anstey rode, that you can't really race anywhere else, and even the Suter that Locker rode, and so many people love seeing that flying around because it sounded great, smelt great, and it went great. And so it's always nice to see special stuff, and that's kind of why they used to have that senior rule. So you used to have like the Superbike TT under Superbike rules, and then the senior TT had its separate rules, so it was slightly different, so it allowed the special stuff in. It wasn't, tied under such strict regulations. But the only problem I see with it now is that obviously Superbike and Superstock are so close. Like Superstock bike has the lap record here now. And Supersport's a different discipline, it definitely is. And you do see riders who are better on a 600 than 1,000. And that can just be to do with the size. Lee Johnston's a prime example. I always seem to use Lee as an example, but although he's great on a superbike, he's built to be a 600 rider, and that's where he's going to shine. Although not this year because he's not racing. But you used to have a bigger gulf of specialists. From when I remember growing up watching TT, you'd have certain riders like Joey and Hizzy and people like that who could ride and win on anything. But you'd have specialists who were small bike specialists. And when you've got 125s and 250s, they were definitely suited to certain riders compared to, obviously, I'm talking about my day, like when I was watching it, they were like super bikes. So, RC45s, and then onto R1s and the early Gixxers and things. They were a big, big bike, compared to a 125 or a 250. So you could definitely have specialists who could ride one and maybe not really ride the other. They do okay, but it wasn't their main goal. And I think that's been lost in the last 20 years here. There are exceptions. If you remember, like Ivan Linton was a prime example. He'd be a consistent podium finisher on the Super Twins, but maybe top 10, 15 on a superbike. And he's never going to win a superbike race. Like, not in a harsh way, but let's be honest, it wasn't his specialty. The Twins were. And the way BSB's going now, they've got a few different classes where they call it, is it the Sports Bike Cup? They've got a few different things. And with the modern 400s coming back, there's a class there for them. But I think it's a little bit, but just again, it's just a personal point of view, and there's loads of different ways to go with it. But I'd still like to see the twins as they are, or the lightweight as they're calling it. And let's have an ultra lightweight, which is basically a Moto3 class. The Moto3 thing has kind of been, I thought it was going to take off more than it did in national racing, and it hasn't quite got there. But there was a few years when some of the lads were running them at the Manx, and they're a brilliant little bike around here. And you can imagine they'd be flat out everywhere, but such a different way of riding. Like a smaller capacity 600, you know, the way you have to carry momentum, it's all about corner speed. And it'd be nice to see, for me, I'd like to see a lightweight / ultra lightweight, where you can remember in the old days, we had the 250s going off, and they go off at like number 1 to 60. And then the first 125 on the road would be like number 61, Robert Dunlop. And they're in a separate race. You're all on the same track at the same time. And if they could do it 30 years ago, you know, and keep track of who was in what position, they could definitely do it now. And it was also, for me, the biggest thing I don't like about the TT, it's not the TT specific, it's watching motorbikes ride around this course, is that sometimes you're watching nothing, and there's nothing worse than that. You watch all the bikes come past for 10, 12 minutes, and you might sit there for 5 or 10 minutes watching nothing. And it's become a little bit obvious watching the sidecar racing now, and it's still a little bit like that in the lightweights with the twins. And I think if you could have 40 twins and then maybe another 30 like Moto3 bikes, really fill that grid up, I think it'd be great. And I can't see a reason why not. I've talked to a few people about it, and I don't think there's any logistical reason why not. So yeah, maybe it'll happen. I'd like to see it happen. Maybe there just isn't interest in those bikes in terms of there's not enough entries for them. People aren't that bothered about racing them. I'm surprised, you know, not ridiculously expensive to run as far as I know. And obviously depends on how the regulations are for it. But yeah, I'd like to see that. That for me, that would be what I'd do. I'd love to see that come in, to have that lightweight / ultra lightweight race, fill that grid up. Less dead track time is what we're after. But obviously for the other classes, Superbike, Superstock, Supersport, they're all oversubscribed. They're all got full grids, and I know they've limited the numbers now, but as the bikes continue to get faster and faster, there's less and less time to get the race started before the first bikes are coming around to complete their first lap. And so that has to be taken into consideration. And the days of going off in twos are never going to come back. It's fine for practice, but it's never going to happen for racing. And obviously you've got to have enough places in the pits for the fuel fillers. And regulations have changed in the last few years where you do have to have more space between each fuel filler. And so that takes up more room per team in the pit. So you can only have so many pit stop spaces. That is a factor as well. So it's not just a case of, you know, X or Y, and this is why we can or can't, or will or won't do something. There are multiple reasons why these things either don't happen or do. So yeah, there's a few things to consider there. But yeah, for me, I want to see some Moto3 bikes flying around. I think they were just, I think they're great, and I think it would just add some more variety to the event for me. That's it. Just wanted to have a little chat about those bike classes. And again, it's just my personal opinion. It's not an official opinion. It's not a collective opinion of travel marshals. It's just mine. Just what I thought about it. It's just what I say when people ask me about it. Different classes for the TT. That's what I think. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.